The Greater Virunga Landscape is one of Africa's most biologically diverse ecosystems, hosting iconic wildlife including mountain gorillas, elephants, lions, and chimpanzees. The evidence-based study assessed the status and functionality of wildlife corridors across the landscape. According to the findings presented during the launch in Kampala, 20 wildlife corridors across the landscape were identified, 75% of which are still functional.
So, the study first looked at the 7 that were analyzed by WCS then 2013, and then what we did was to say, okay, we know the 7, a lot has changed. What other potential corridors now exist within this region?
WWF's Director for Conservation, Paul Hatanga, says the findings provide critical data for sustainable conservation planning in the region. The study highlighted habitat degradation and human encroachment as major threats.
Ecological connectivity is important for dispersal of species. They are able to move from one location to another, one habitat to another, for food, for mates, for different things, for water. They're able to move. Gene flow, so that there is no inbreeding.
However, conservationists warn that expanding settlements, farming activities, and infrastructure developments are increasingly fragmenting wildlife habitats.
This is nature, but it comes to humans. The moment you put up your home where the animals knew they had to pass to reach the next habitat, you are increasing human-wildlife conflict.
WWF Uganda Country Director Ivan Tumuhimbise described wildlife corridors as critical for biodiversity conservation.
Without these corridors, populations become isolated, genetic diversity declines, and human-wildlife conflict escalates.
The Executive Secretary of the Greater Virunga Transboundary Collaboration, Dr. Andrew Seguya, says maintaining ecological connectivity across borders is critical for wildlife survival.
Connectivity conservation must now become a central pillar of our work in the landscape management, in regional planning, and community resilience across the landscape.
He adds that protecting wildlife corridors is also important for tourism, regional stability, and community well-being.
So it is my hope that the findings will inspire stronger cooperation between governments, between organizations, between communities across the 3 countries, so that, and the development partners, so that we can collectively safeguard the ecological integrity of the Greater Virunga Landscape for generations to come.
Windy, Queen Elizabeth, Rwenzori, there's an estimate that was $1.28 billion American dollars in 2024, supporting over 800,000 jobs. That's not insignificant for one landscape. So how can we make the argument that more money needs to go into these landscapes from national budgets? And it's not just about conservation, it's about economic development more broadly.
Meanwhile, the Uganda Wildlife Authority says shrinking wildlife space is increasing pressure on conservation areas.
The animals are multiplying, they are breeding successfully, and they need to mix genetically, but also need more land for them to be able to survive.
He has, however, revealed that they are reviewing the Wildlife Act to introduce conservancies aimed at helping communities directly benefit from conservation,
where we can enable the communities give up their land for conservancies, for the wildlife that is on their land to benefit them directly.
The report recommends restoring degraded corridors such as Virunga, Chambura and Kasoya, strengthening law enforcement against poaching, scaling up electric fencing and supporting alternative livelihoods for communities living near wildlife areas. It also calls for stronger transboundary cooperation among Uganda, Rwanda and DRC, harmonized land use policies and increased investment in restoration and monitoring systems. I'm Benjamin Jumbe, NTV Tonight.